Now we will start our session 4 by text command. So to activate the text command, I will select the option and type the required text here. Whatever text you want, you can type here. You can see that text is appearing from origin. Now I'll select the text and say it as bold and italic for editing. You can increase and decrease the height of the text by using this option here. So you just need to put off this option, go in font. There are two options given to increase or decrease the size. I'll go with points and increase the value by 50. You can also change the text style here and say OK. Now you can see the text style as well as size is increased here. After that, we will go for this curve option. For that, we'll say it OK and draw one 3-point arc here. First, second and third point. We'll give it a relation here as horizontal. And now mount this text on this arc. For that, we have to double click on the text and go on curves option and say curve. You can see the text is aligned here on this arc. Now you can align it by placing it at center align, left align or right align. You can also distribute this text on the arc. I'll say it middle align. You can also flip the text around the curve as well as mirror the text. I'll keep it normal and then mirror it again. Now say OK. Before saying OK, there are two options more here. Suppose if you want to increase the width of the text, you can increase by this option. You can also increase or decrease the gap between two letters by using this option at left side. Then I'll say it OK. Later you can delete this arc also. I'll select and delete the arc. Now this text command will be used in wrap command for typing the name or wrapping or embossing the name on the objects. Next command here is point command. So for point command, I'll select the option, place the point where required, then go for smart dimension and position the point by giving X and Y values. Now I'll say one relation here as vertical. You can see the point is fully positioned and there is a color difference between 2 points. This point is underdefined, that's why it is looking in blue color. And this one is in black color, that is fully defined. Now again, I'll position these 2 points also by giving the dimension vertical and horizontal. You can utilize this point to connect any sketch. So I'll give dimensions to this third point also here. One vertical dimension also. After putting up the values here, you can directly connect all the 3 points by using line or arc command. So I'll go with line command here. Select first point, second point and third point. In this way you can utilize the points also here. You can see the sketch is fully defined now. Next command we will see here is mirror command. So for using mirror command, I'll draw one sketch here. I'll draw one rectangle and define it by giving width and height. Suppose if your object is underdefined, then when you mirror the object, it will also come underdefined on the other side also. So it is better to define the object than mirror. Put up the values from origin also to constrain the X and Y directions. After constraining the object, I require one line so as to say mirror against this line. So I'll make this line as a construction line and say mirror option. In first box, you have to select the entities to mirror. I'll select all the 4 entities here. And then in mirror about, you have to show the line against which you want to mirror the object. Here I'll show the line here and say OK. You can see the object is fully defined and mirrored here. Again, select the mirror command, select the entities you want to mirror and select the line about which you want to mirror. and say OK. This was the mirror command. Now the next commands we will see here is linear sketch pattern and circular sketch pattern. So for linear sketch pattern, I will draw one entity here. I will draw one circle here. Put up the value and constrain the circle here. I will say it as 200 diameter. Next, we will go for pattern command. Now you can see directions are being shown here. The next direction is the horizontal direction and Y direction will be referred for vertical direction. You can refer this UCS for the directions. Now first you have to select the entity to pattern and then apply the distance and number of entities you require in X and Y direction. So first we will put up the entities required. So in X direction I will say I want 5 columns here. And center to center distance for each column I will provide here. I will say it as 300 mm. Now I will go for Y direction, that is vertical direction. I will put up the number of entities I require here. I will say this one also has 5 mm, 5 only. Next, center to center distance, I will put up here also as 300 mm. Now you can see there are total 5 columns and 5 rows. The center to center distance between each row and column is 300 mm on both sides, X and Y direction. Now you can flip the directions also here. If I want to reverse the X direction, if I want to reverse the Y direction, I'll select this option here. Suppose I want to make this pattern by giving angle, so we can put up the angle also here. I'll say 45 degrees angle for the pattern. I'll again make it 90 here. There is one more option here that you can skip the instances you require. So I'll skip the instances here. Now in this box, select the instances you need to skip here. Suppose I want these circles back, then I will clear the selections here. You can see the circles are back. So if you want to skip any entity, you can use this option here. Now say OK. Now we just need to define the pattern. For that, I will go for smart dimension. And first I will define this second number entity. And third, I will define this entity above the second number entity. So one by one we will define it by giving dimensions from origin. First the second entity and then the above entity of the second. I'll go for smart dimension again and say the values from origin, horizontal and vertical value. Now all the entities are defined here. So there is need of 3 entities to be defined here. First, this one second and this one third. Next we will go for circular sketch pattern. For that I will draw one circular entity here and say it as PCD. PCD means pitch circle diameter. I will put up the diameter here as 3000. Then convert it into construction circle so as to make it PCD, pitch circle diameter. Then we will draw one entity also here. We will make one slot, straight slot, first point, second point and then slot. You have to give center to center distance here first to define this slot. Then give one radius at any point. I'll say it as 150 radius. Now as the entity is defined, we will pattern it in circular position. So we'll go for circular sketch pattern. Now in this first box, select the center point. And at last, you have to select the entity you want to pattern. And then give the required number of entities you require here in 360 degrees. Suppose I want to make them in 180 degrees only, then I will change the angle and say here as 180. So all the entities will come in 180 degrees here. You can flip this option side also by clicking this reverse direction and say OK. Before saying OK, I'll again complete it as 360 degrees only. and say then OK. Now for defining all these slots, you just need to give one dimension from origin to any one slot. I'll say vertical and horizontal value here. Now all these slots are defined, you can see here. So for defining all the entities, you just need to define any one entity from the origin after making pattern. So this was the circular pattern. Now we will start with some editing commands here. For that I will draw one rectangle, corner rectangle, and then I will constrain the rectangle by putting up the values here. Now as the rectangle is constrained, it is not possible for us to move it directly. So we'll move here by using the move entities command. Select the entities you require to move here. Then you just have to keep off this option so as to avoid the constraints taken here by rectangle. Then give the start point here and then move the object. By keeping off the keep relations option only you can move the object here. After that we will go for copy entities command. So for copying entities, again I will select the entities you require. I'll give one base point or a start point here and then copy the entities at whatever position we require. After copy entities, we will go for rotate entities. In rotate entities, select the entities you require to rotate it. I'll select all the entities here. Give a base point and also provide one angle here. This base point will act as a hinge point so as to rotate the object around it. So I'll put up one angle here as 45 degrees. Now you can see the rectangle is rotated by 45 degrees here. I will say it OK and exit. After rotate command, we will go for scale entities. Before using scale entities, you have to make sure that object is not being annotated here. Because if you give annotations and then scale, it is not possible to scale the object. We will select the entities here to scale. We'll provide one base point also here and then put up the scale value. Now for 100% size, the scale value is considered as 1. Suppose I want to double the size, then I will take the scale value as 2 and double the size of the object. Suppose I want to make half of the size, then I will take the scale factor as 0.5. In this way, you can provide the scale factors. Now suppose again I want to increase this size by 20%. So I will take the scale factor as 1.2 as it is 100% and again I want to add 20%, so I will take the scale factor as 1.2. I will go with scale command, select the entities, put up one base point here and say the scale factor as 1.2. Now the size is increased by 20%. This was the scale command. After that we'll go for stretch command. Now for stretch command, I'll select all the sides other than one fixed size and then give a base point here. I've left one side as fixed here and then I'll put a base point here and drag the entity here. So you can see the rectangle is being stretched here. So these were the editing commands: move, copy, rotate, scale and stretch. So this was the end for Sketcher. We will continue for part modeling in next lecture. That will be session 5. So we'll put up the end on this lecture now. Thank you.